Well, good morning, everyone. Morning. My name is Michael. I'm one of the pastors here at Cedarbrook. And yeah, we've been going through a message series called Not in the Bible, where we have been taking some common phrases that we've all used, or at the very least, we've heard them, and discovering that they're actually not found in the Bible. And then we're taking those phrases and we're turning them around and making them more biblical, what we actually do find in the Bible. And today, I think, is a perfect example of what I'm talking about. Today's phrase is one that you may have used. You certainly have heard from time to time. The phrase is, God will never give you more than you can handle. God will never give you more than you can handle. That just feels good, doesn't it? Yeah, well, because we use it in times when things are going really bad, right? When life is hard. And it just seems like it's just too much. And it can be comforting, go like, you know what, though? God didn't give me this because it's more than I can handle. I can handle this. It's what it feels like. But sometimes when people are going through something that's really hard, we might use that phrase and say that to them and like, well, you know, God will never give you more than you can handle. Not helpful. Right? Because it feels like it's way more than I can handle, so maybe there's something wrong with me. And this phrase, it sounds like it's true. It sounds like it's good. And I even know where it comes from. I know there's a scripture verse where it sounds like it's saying this. Let me show you. 1 Corinthians chapter 10, verse 13. Now, I'm going to tell you right now, I'm taking it completely out of the context. Okay, I'm just going to use it from where we see it come from. So it says this. He, meaning God, will not let you be tempted beyond what you can bear. He, God, will not let you be tempted beyond what you can bear. Sounds very much like God will never give you more than you can handle, right? He won't let you be tempted beyond what you can bear. But when we stop and think about that, we're starting to think like, well, is God the one that's dishing out the temptation or the hardship in our life? Is God the one that's making life hard and difficult and these trials I'm going through that make me feel like it's more than I can handle? And God's the one doing like that's the bad guy. But it's okay because it's, just up to how much you can handle, right? Not more than. Like it makes God the bad guy. And it's just not the picture that we have of who God is. And I want to show you that by putting this back in its context. It doesn't even just talk about temptation, but we can apply it through these trials that we're facing and the things that are hard in our life. Okay, let's read the whole verse of 13. Here's what it says. No temptation has overtaken you except what is common to mankind, and God is faithful. He will not let you be tempted beyond what you can bear, but when you are tempted, He will also provide a way out so that you can endure it. Now, I know you're going like, well, no, if the lens of God is in control and dishing this out, but He only limits it to a certain amount, like you're like, oh, yeah, that's what it's saying. No, think about it. Where did we start? The temptations in life are already there. We all experience them. It's not because God's going like, well, let me throw some temptation out at these people, or even in hardships. Life is hard. It's difficult. It's a trial. It's a struggle to just deal with life just like it for everybody else, right? It's not unique. And yet God is the one who is faithful, even when we're not faithful to Him. Even when we go like, I'm done with this, I can't handle it anymore, get away from me, God. God is the one who is faithful to be with you in it. And then what's this idea, this concept of like not letting it be more than you can bear? Because God is powerful enough to go like, I know this is going on here, but I'm going to protect you from this being too overwhelming for you. God protects us. Now, it may not be in the way we want to be protected, like just let me not suffer. That would be a great protection, right? But God does it in God's own way because He's faithful and He's going to protect us from it. But He also provides. provides a way for us to get through it, to become a better through this whole thing, like we talked about a little bit last week. That there's a purpose that God can bring from all of the stuff that we're going through. And God provides a way. So God is faithful to be with us, God protects us, and God provides so that we will not be so overwhelmed we can't do it. But the important thing is that it's God who is with us in it. God is the one that takes all of that on to help us. It's a partnership with God in all of this. So I think that our phrase, God never gives you more than you can handle, needs to be turned around, because life is way more than we can handle on our own. It's hard enough with God in us, within us, and providing for us and protecting us, right? So I think the phrase needs to change from God will never give you more than you can handle to life will never give you more than God can handle. Life on our own is more than we can handle, but with God, it's not too much for God. So life will never give you more than what God can handle. Now, I like that phrase. It all makes sense to me, but I want to invite somebody up here to share about a time in their life where it was way more than they could handle, and yet they saw God in it and with them. So would you please welcome my wife, Amanda, to the stage. I don't know if I set these chairs up right. I don't want to be too far away from you because I like you.
I like you too.
Thank you. That feels good. There was a long pause in there. I was like, uh-oh.
I had to turn the microphone on.
Okay, all right, it'll be that. So often I've shared a little bit of our story, but it's from my perspective, what I'm experiencing that, and I just thought this would be a really good opportunity for you to share from your perspective. So would you tell us some things about our story that was way more than we could handle?
Sure. So back in 2004, so we're going to jump back a little ways, we had been married about 2.5 years, and I was 24 years old, and we had finished school. I had finished school. You were just starting seminary. I was working full-time, carrying the insurance benefits, and I was the sugar mama.
She was indeed.
It's true. That's true.
We bought a house.
We bought a house, yes. All of those things, we were, life was good. Mm-hmm. And then one day, my legs started swelling. My ankles were swelling a lot, and I was like, well, that's weird. But it didn't go away. It kept getting worse and getting farther and farther up my legs. And so I was like, well, that is not normal. So I went to the doctor, and they said, well, you have a kidney problem, and we're going to have to send you to see a specialist. So we said, okay. So we waited until we could get an appointment with the specialist. And the specialist then said, well, we need to see exactly what's going on. So they did a kidney biopsy. And we then, after about 3 months, finally had a diagnosis. And so I was diagnosed with 2 separate kidney diseases. Both are very rare. It's almost unheard of that they show up together. If there was a typical patient for them, I was definitely not it. So the only explanation the nurse had for me, or the doctor had for me, is that I'm special.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, didn't want to be special.
I didn't want to be special, no. So we immediately started treatment. With kidneys, you really don't know there's a problem until your function is mostly gone. And so they wanted to retain as much function as possible. So threw me on a whole bunch of medications, and made me really sick. I was really very miserable. Ended up spending about a week in the hospital just because I was so dehydrated. I couldn't keep any food down, anything like that. And so spent some good time there trying to figure that out.
Yeah, it's hard. You're going to notice a pattern is 3 and 6 months, and it just keeps kind of piling on top of itself. Yeah. And waiting is the hard part. When you're waiting to get a diagnosis, waiting to know what's wrong, waiting to get a diagnosis. There was 3 weeks of waiting just to get a diagnosis, and they didn't even know. And then there was months of waiting to know what the diagnosis was, and then the treatment. So this new treatment went on for months, and they didn't know what to do because these diseases don't show up together very often. So they're like, well, let's throw stuff on the wall and see what sticks, right? And so it just made her really sick.
Yeah, so we kind of figured out some of the medications and stuff like that so I could at least function somewhat normally, although between all the hospital visits and all of that kind of stuff, I was not able to continue working full-time, and so I lost my job, and so that was a hard hit. We were pretty focused on just trying to get through life one day at a time. And so one of those days we were at home together one evening, and Michael was making me laugh, as he has vowed to do every day of our married life, and he has kept his promise. But at that particular point, it really hurt, actually. Like, it hurt to breathe, and so laughing just made it worse. And so I held it off as long as I can. I don't like to make a big deal about things. I'll just deal with it. But I couldn't deal with it anymore. And so we went, Michael took me to the hospital. So we had another fun adventure at yet another hospital. And so they did a bunch of testing and figured out that I had several blood clots in my lungs. And I don't know if any of you have experienced that, but that is by far the worst pain I have ever experienced. It was absolutely awful. So between some of the medications I was on and some of the kidney problems, that was enough to kind of explain where those clots came from.
Just to emphasize how bad it was, I thought she was going to die. I thought, this is the time that I'm going to lose my wife, because she would be in so much pain to try to breathe that she would just be screaming instead of breathing until she passed out. And then she would take a breath subconsciously and be painful and wake back up and start the whole process over again. I'm like, how can anyone go long to do this until they just can't anymore?
Yeah, so that was fun. Eventually they were able to get some blood thinners going, and so eventually the clots did dissipate, and we were kind of back to, normal, awful, normal, whatever, fairly predictable anyway. And it was about then 6 months following that Michael and I discovered that we were pregnant, which Michael shared a little bit about last week, but that was not advised, and we had thought that we were complying with that, but here we are, surprised we're pregnant. And so walked through that. We knew that it was a high-risk pregnancy, and that the outcome was not guaranteed, and that she would likely be early, and if she survived, we could have long-term difficulties. And so we 6 months later, her daughter Eloise was stillborn.
Which is hard enough expecting that, but then to have to actually go through the birthing process is really awful. And all the medications and stuff had to change because you're pregnant, so which all of the medications are like, don't take when you're pregnant. And so all of that changed once again. And now you have to grieve, as well as now go on a new regimen of things.
Right. Yeah, so that brought a whole different, set of not only physically, but then emotionally, just trying to get through each day. So by that point, I felt awful in every sense of the word, and I couldn't do much. Like, I would get up and take a shower, and then I would be so exhausted that I'd have to lay down and rest for a while. I was able to work for a few hours each day, and things like that. But so I felt awful, but not bad enough to merit looking at a transplant. And so that was about a year that we lived in that really awful time. We call it the year of barfing.
There was a lot of barf. I know, because I cleaned it up. Like, it was.
He did.
I actually it was only a year. Yeah, it was, but it was awful. It was a long time.
It was a long time, yes. eventually my kidney function did drop enough that I was eligible for transplant. And so my mom was tested, and she was a match for me. And so we did go ahead and schedule a transplant. So I had a transplant in July of 2005. And so they did the transplant. Everything looked pretty good. I was up and moving around, everything else. I went home. And then it soon became apparent that everything was not okay. And so I was very sick. I was in a lot of pain, things like that, back and forth to the doctor, like, kind of suck it up. You need to deal with it. You need to figure it out. And so did what we could until we couldn't. And so I went back in, and then they ended up doing an emergency surgery 5 days following the surgery to remove the kidney. There was a clot that had developed in the kidney, and they were not able to flush that out. So they had to take out the kidney that they had just put back in. So I had that for 5 days. And then there were severe complications following all of that. So over a period of 15 days, I had 5 different surgeries in my belly. And spent a lot of time. It was like 3 weeks in the hospital.
Some of it in ICU.
Yeah. Excuse me. Some of it in ICU. Yeah. So that was just another blow. So, now I'm kind of back to where I was before, and that was really tough. It was at that point that my anxiety really took off through the roof. I'm a pretty even person. Like, I can kind of take what comes and do whatever, but I had anxiety like I'd never experienced before. And so that was just another layer of a challenge to try to get through. I had swore I was never going to do another transplant. But through a lot of different things, it was actually 7 months later to the day that I had my second kidney transplant. And that one was successful, but though not without its complications. So there was a long period again of in the hospital, back and forth, in and out. And in fact, the last kind of the remaining issue wasn't resolved until it was 146 days following my surgery. So even that was a long period of waiting.
Yeah, that was a drainage tube because her body was still it was in trauma, and so it was trying to heal itself. And so to get rid of that, she just had this drainage tube that had to be changed all the time for 146 days of having to deal with that afterwards. Yeah. So this is way more than you can handle. It's way more than I could handle. It's way more than we could handle as a couple. Like, that's the point here, right? Life is just way more than we can handle on our own. And we know that God is in there with us through it all, but how did you know that God was with you?
Yeah. I had a Caring Bridge site kind of throughout the process, and so I went back and I was reading through some of that this week. And one of the things that I had written in the time period where we were waiting, so the year before the transplant, Andrew and I said, God is just telling me 2 things. He says, I'm here, and wait. And I liked the I'm here part, and I really did not like the wait part. I felt like I'd been waiting a long time already, and I didn't want to wait anymore. But as I worked through a lot of different things, and some of it is a little bit easier to see after the fact, but God was with us in a lot of tangible ways. One of those ways, I lost my full-time job, and with that, the insurance benefits that came along with it. And truly, by God's grace, I was able to find a part-time job that still offered insurance benefits. And so that was huge for the medical issues, obviously, but also it allowed Michael then to continue at his job, and he could continue going to school. So the 4 years that this kind of spans was the same 4 years that Michael was in seminary, actually.
Yeah, the first semester I started, we get diagnosed. The last semester before I graduate, she has her second transplant. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So that was one way that we saw God working, but there were a lot of small miracles throughout. When I had the blood clots in my lungs, that was just a few weeks prior to my sister's wedding, and I was going to be the maid of honor, and obviously not feeling great anyway, but we were going to make it work, and then ended up in the hospital and didn't know if I was going to be released in time to even be at the wedding, let alone be in the wedding. But the day of the wedding came around, and I felt amazing. And I put that dress on, and I got to be there. And I'm so thankful. The day before and the day after, I felt completely miserable. But the day of was amazing. Another time that we saw God's goodness and faithfulness was after we lost the first kidney. And my first transplant failed. I had the new kidney in me for 5 days. And when they do a kidney transplant, they actually just put a new kidney in. They don't take your old ones out. And so they had to take the new one out. But the longer a functioning kidney is there, the more your native kidneys really just kind of shrivel up and quit working. And so there wouldn't be any function left at all. But the fact that I only had the new one for 5 days meant that when they took it back out, I still had some function in my kidneys. And so I was able to not have to be on dialysis, which is something I really resisted from the very beginning. That's a whole different deal. And I really didn't want to go there. And so, again, I only had it for 5 days, but that allowed us to at least go back to the previous predictability of awfulness and to be able to continue on the journey. And so that was huge. One of the really, really neat ways, and Michael never tells this part of the story, but for my second transplant, we weren't sure where that was going to come from. And so Michael said, you know what, I really want to be tested. I think I really want to do that. And so it came back that Michael was a match for me. And so a few days before our 6th wedding anniversary, we did transplant number 2. And so Michael's kidney is right here. And still in there and still working and doing its job. So that was a huge blessing as well.
Which just means she can't live without me, right? I mean, that's what that means. Yeah, it's true. Okay.
It's true.
So, we can laugh about some of these things, but I also know that there are people here that they're going through some things that are really hard, and they may be hearing our story and going like, well, that's a good story, but it's nowhere near the amount of things that they're going through. They can compare it and go like, man, I'm going through things that are hard. Or the other side of that of, they compare and go like, well, I don't experience anything like that. And we've learned that like, don't compare. Because life is way more than you can handle no matter what you're going through. What you're going through is big to you, and it's okay to know that. But I want to know what you would say to someone that's going through something that's really hard, that's going through things that are way more than they can handle, whatever degree that they feel that they are. What would you say to them in this moment?
Yeah. Feel what you're feeling. Identify what it is that you're feeling. It's okay for you to feel angry and frustrated and confused and all of the different things, the emotions that come along with all of that. Encourage you to embrace that, but don't stop there. Bring that to God. He can take it. For a long time, my prayer life was me yelling at God and saying, why? But he can take it.
Yeah, God can handle that.
Absolutely.
And invites it, wants us to have that relationship where we can yell at him about what's going on in life and being angry.
He would much rather hear you yell at him than not at all. So I encourage you to do that. The other thing I fell back on really is that this whole thing was a battle between what I knew to be true and what I felt. And that's a really hard balance, because when life is telling you God is not good, God is not faithful, and that he doesn't care, and that you're all alone, I knew that wasn't true, but it sure felt like it. And so I looked back over one of my Caring Bridge things, and I had written this. It said, I am determined to believe, no matter what it feels like, that God is in control of what's happening. He's sovereign over the situation, and he's going to use this to further his kingdom. I may never get an explanation as to why this happened, but it's not my job to orchestrate how the world works, and for that, I'm thankful. I just have to do my part, whatever the cost. Can you tell I'm trying my best to convince myself of this? Those aren't my current feelings on the subject, but I know they are the truth. I'm intentionally working on reconciling what I know with what I feel. And that's not easy. It's not easy. Whatever you're going through is not easy. And it's not okay. But God is there, and he is faithful, and he is good, and he wants what's best for you. So if you can, just open your eyes to see how he is with you. It's easy to get caught up in being angry or bitter or, feel like things should be different, and they probably should be. None of that should have happened to us. But God is with us, and he was faithful. And we can see those things now, looking back. And even in the midst of it, we could see some of those things if we were willing. So if you're able to open your eyes to see those things, that's huge.
It's a huge thing to be able to, one, be angry at God and tell God what you're feeling and going on inside of you. Knowing what is true, that God is there with you, protecting you, providing for you, and you may need to search hard for what that looks like. I mean, having a new kidney for 5 days could have just got caught up in that bitterness and that's it. And another thing God has taken away from me, another thing that he's poured on me, or pour on us. Why won't this end? Versus going thank God that it was only 5 days and she retained her kidney function. You have to search for it sometimes. And I think sometimes we just need to know and say it and understand and hear that we're not alone in this. Whatever you're going through is way more than you can handle, but it's not way more than what God can handle. And he's there with you because he's faithful and he provides and he protects. We just have to search for it. And so this morning, Amanda and I wanted to just pray for all of us that are going through things that are hard, whether it's currently, in the past, or in the future, because it's going to be more than you can handle. Life will never give you more than what God can handle, though. And so if you wouldn't mind joining us in prayer. Heavenly Father, life is hard, and it's way too hard for any one person to handle what they're going through. We acknowledge that. We're angry about that. We feel some sense of shame that we should be able to handle it, and we can't. God, we just know that you are here with us in it, that we're not alone in this suffering and this hardship and the trials, or even in our temptations, that you are there with us, surrounding us and protecting us, and you're providing for us every step of the way. So Jesus, we just come before you now, and we ask that you would just speak these words over us, knowing that you are here with us. In your name we pray, amen.